Hi, I'm Carolyn Beam with Quiltmaker magazine. I love working with 5-inch charm squares, and I'm always looking for new projects to use these little squares of fabric. The project I'm currently working on is a Dresden plate using charms. What I'm using for my charm square Dresdens are tone-on-tone 5-inch squares for the background. I've got a collection of them here, and a variety of prints and tone-on-tones in darker colors, medium to dark colors for the Dresden plates. To make the block background, I've sewn 9 different light charm squares together. And to make the blades, I'm using this easy Dresden ruler, and I can line it right up with the narrow edge on one side of my charms and the 5-inch right on the other side. And I've got 3 layers here that I'm going to cut at one time. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out one set of blades. And I've got a rotating mat here, but you can easily just turn your mat around. Cut the other side. And I've got 3 blades. And then I can turn the ruler around again and line it up with the narrow end on one side of my charms and use that same cutting line. And cut the other side. So you can get 2 blades out of each charm square. The next thing you're going to do is take your blade, fold it in half, right sides together, and sew a 1/4 inch from the raw edge. And you can chain many of these little blades together like this. After you've finished sewing all your blades together, you can go ahead and cut them apart, just between each of the blades. Then you'll fold the blade, forming a point at the tip, press your seams open, and then you want to turn it right side out. Now to help push the point out, you can use a stiletto. Just be very careful that you don't push the point of the stiletto through your fabric. And finger press like this. And you'll do this with all of your blades. Now to make the plate, you're going to sew 20 of your little blades together. And when I sew mine together, I start at the pointed edge and sew toward the middle. I find that sometimes the seams don't always quite match in the middle, and that's okay because you're going to cover that up with the center circle. I press all my seams to one side. The next thing, I've taken my background and I've folded it in half both ways, and I can center my Dresden plate on top of it, matching up the points to the folds on my background. From here, you'll go ahead and use a blind stitch. I like a hand stitch to sew my Dresden plate down to my background, but you can also use a machine straight stitch or a machine blanket stitch to sew your Dresden plate to your background. After I've appliqued the outside of my Dresden plate to my background, I'll also add a line of basting just around the inside to hold it in place. For the center, I've taken a 4-inch circle that I've cut out of freezer paper and positioned it on top of a charm square, and I'm just going to roughly cut out around the circle, leaving myself about 1/4 inch to 3/8 inch of a seam allowance. Once I've completely cut around the circle, I go ahead and lay the freezer paper shiny side out on top of the wrong side of my circle, pin it in place, and then iron the edges down on top of the freezer paper. With the shiny side out, the fabric is going to stick, and that serves as my basting. At this point, go ahead and remove the pin, position the circle on top of your Dresden plate, and then use your preferred applique stitch to stitch it in place. Once you've appliqued your center circle to your Dresden plate, you can flip it over and trim just inside of your applique lines, and then remove your freezer paper. This is a great way to use up a variety of charm squares, and this Dresden plate block will work in a variety of different quilt designs. You can also find 3 different Dresden plate quilt designs in the January-February 2015 issue of Quiltmaker. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up below, share it on social media, and subscribe to our YouTube channel.